Hey, this is Notser, and we're checking out the Tier 9 Pan-Asian Destroyer, Chung Mu. It is of South Korean origin, and it's got American guns with the deep water torpedoes, plus, since it's Tier 9, it has the option to select smoke or radar. Now, I already released a radar game, Tier 10. Obviously, the radar system is going to be very unique for the Pan-Asian Destroyer line, but what if I don't want to play radar? What if I want to play smoke? How does that work at maximum tier? Would I ever choose smoke over radar? Well, this was the game I wanted to test it on. So we're headed over to A point, and this is a very safe, normal build. Survivability expert, faster torpedo rearm, concealment. I don't have enough for radiolocation, but that's the other skill I want to take. Adrenaline rush, and last stand. Plus, I have preventive maintenance. I have faster torpedo rearm modules. I'm all in on the torpedo rearm. And I don't know that that's the correct way to play the Pan-Asian destroyers, just because I'm not finding as many opportunities to send my torpedoes at the enemy as I would like to. Because these torpedoes only hit cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers, you can't expect to send one at the objectives at the beginning of the game. And that's critical. It really moves up the timetable. It's like, man, I want to get closer to the enemy so I can send my torpedoes. I don't like it when I'm wasting some tool to take out the enemy ship or do damage or whatever. So we're going to capture, and I do consider moving into position. Another aspect of the Pan-Asian Destroyer line, there's no gun upgrade. There's no torpedo upgrades. What you see is what you get. When you buy the ship, that is the maximum range of your torpedoes, and that's the maximum performance of your guns. Some people like that. Some people hate that. I personally like it because I'm going to get the best possible torpedo system when I buy the ship. Usually, there's some sort of sacrifice in range or speed, and quite frankly, you need to upgrade the torpedoes for them to even be viable. They tried to give a little bit of an improvement from the Germans, and it looks like for the next destroyer line, the Pan-Asians, they're going to be like, you know what, there's no upgrade, only your gun range, and only the hull will be upgraded. And that's pretty cool, because it just means I don't have to worry about that. So we captured A point. I was kind of hoping that the Tirpitz would move towards me, but it doesn't really look like that. For whatever reason, the enemy aircraft carrier is positioned around the island. I would like to send my torpedoes. I think my torpedoes would like to hit the aircraft carrier. I didn't really expect to hit an aircraft carrier this early on, but he's that far forward. So I pop my smoke, and I'm going to try and camp and do some gun damage. Now, this is not unique at all. This is very American. This is exactly what you would do. However, you wouldn't consider using a system like deep water torpedoes on those American ships, or you wouldn't have the number of charges to use with your smoke, right? You just wouldn't have that. You'd have to pick up superintendent, or you would pick up radio location or radar. So yeah, it's slightly different. I think it's different enough that I would. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's different enough. I would literally level up the exact same ship line just to give me something to do, especially in a DD line. I love DDs. So we recognize the enemy's pushing the center. I don't know why. I don't really ask these questions. All I'm trying to do is use my torpedoes. And the enemy Montana is speeding pretty quickly towards the point. And my torpedoes are in range of being usable. So I'm going to sit at the indicator, and I'm going to try and make sure that we can go after them. My smoke is going away in about 20 seconds. If you look on the premium, there's going to be like a 15-second window where you don't have access to smoke. That's obviously the best in the game. And that's a very tiny window where you're vulnerable. So you could theoretically go a full gun build on these ships, which I can't do on my Americans. That's not the build you go, in my opinion. In my my strategy is torpedo rearm, because torpedoes are really what take out the enemy, and if I wanted a gun game, I would go play the Soviet destroyers. They're going to be better at it. But you might consider, who knows. He stops, however, and avoids the torpedoes. Now, I don't know if he saw them, but clearly his strategy was get inside the cap and then stop. And that worked out for him, but we have his broadside, and I'm doing pretty good damage, honestly. And there's nothing he can really do. He's going to take full damage. I'm trying to hit the superstructure. That way, all the AP doesn't overpin. And, it's alright. I always wonder, is HE just better? Sometimes HE's better, sometimes AP's better. Whatever. I don't really care about the heal factor. That doesn't really matter. He's already used it. He's going to die. People are contributing. And if I can place the shots right, I think AP's going to do better damage. But if it disperses in a pattern that is unfortunate for me, well, guess what? We don't do any damage. So we take out the target. Contributed 25,000. Not too bad. Torpedoes are up. Friendly takes out the turrets. There's also an enemy Graf Zeppelin test. And friendlies are taking fire. The fact that I can't get defensive fire will probably turn a lot of people off to the Pan-Asians, especially when the Pan-Asians are coming out right as the American aircraft carriers are getting that loadout adjustment. There's just going to be a higher population. If you're playing on a server like EU or Southeast Asia, well, guess what? You're going to actually run out of aircraft carriers pretty much every game. North America has the least amount of aircraft carrier players across the entire world. And I have a theory. I think Americans just expect that if it's not fun, don't play it. Period. I'm not having fun. I'm not dominating all the time. There are, of course, players who enjoy it, but on the whole, the population in North America is probably less inclined to play something that they don't really enjoy. They actually hate it. Whereas I think Southeast Asia, there's probably this mystique with the aircraft carrier. That's one aspect of it. And on EU, I think that EU has more people who are willing to sacrifice personal enjoyment for team success. That's really the way I see the discrepancies. I don't know why the Russians play or don't play. I mean, I guess I have an idea that aircraft and aircraft carrier, they've never really had an opportunity to really have one, right? They didn't see a reason. So I'm hoping that this American aircraft carrier adjustment brings them in, because clearly Americans probably play more American ships than any other nationality, just like the Brits play more British ships, Germans play more Germans, Japanese play more Japanese, right? So when your aircraft carriers are a piece of crap, you're probably not gonna play a lot of them. And that might limit your interest in playing the Japanese too. So, enemies trying to come around the corner. I'm trying to push forward. There is a aircraft carrier somewhere in the smoke. I'm trying to detect him. His secondaries open up on me, and they tell me exactly where he is. And he's like 1v1. Well, I do have something that's very good against aircraft carriers, and you can't really stop that. The torpedoes. They do a lot of damage. That was only 2 torpedoes. I probably easily could have killed a 100,000 ship. 100,000 hit point ship. Friendlies are doing a good job. It's still a close game. So I have to rearm my torpedoes and address these enemies that are on the southeast side. A couple battleships. I'm going to make use of the smoke. I mean, enemy uses their smoke. Why not take advantage of it? It's really nice that the smoke indicator does that for friend or foe. It used to not be the case at all. It used to be, oh, well, you're just out of luck. And either that Missouri or the other Missouri did use their radar to detect me. And I noticed my ship is detected by aircraft. There's no smoke indicator either. Perhaps I should use my smoke. And feels very American, right? Pop your smoke, fire from the smoke. send your torpedoes whenever you can. You get to brawl some enemy DDs, objective control. Yeah, there's not a lot that's going to change. Of course, if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves, that's pretty much how you play every single DD outside of Soviets. You don't really fire out of smoke. Your smoke is either to screen or shoot from. You send your torpedoes on cooldown at targets that are valid, and you play the objective. Depending on the type of ship you have, German, Japanese, American, Pan-Asian, you'll have different cooldowns on those torpedoes, so you'll either be more invested or less invested in using your torpedoes in sort of your damage rotation. These torpedoes have a pretty good cooldown, but I'm not really waiting on the cooldown. I'm waiting on targets, potential targets, to be in range. It's so easy for them just to sail away, like these two Missouris. And at this point, I'm like, I dare you to shoot me. Are you going to do that? I don't think you are. And I just want to set fires to the target. So, Thanksgiving happened, obviously. That's why I wasn't able to release video. I gave my family my time, which I enjoyed. But the time I have spent with Pan-Asians, it's really honestly, it's making me think that a gun system build will be more consistent damage. Just because the Pan-Asian destroyers have to rely on torpedoes that only do damage to certain targets. So it's gonna be really weird. I see people go a gun system build on Americans, sort of double up. And I'm like, you're wasting so much opportunity with these torpedoes. They actually are usable, unlike so many Japanese torpedoes. And maybe I just say, screw it. Commit to using deep water torpedoes, rearm cycle, get more aggressive, and move forward faster. But with aircraft carriers and bigger fish in the sea, a gearing, I would not want to face a gearing. A gearing, just like it beats a Fletcher, will beat this ship. Especially if it's a player that actually knows what he's doing. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I'm just considering all the build potential. And I know a lot of people are like, oh man, deep water, deep water, deep water. But if most of the time the target that you're trying to hit is far away or moving off or has protection, deep water is useless. And it's absolutely useless against DDs. It literally does nothing. So, and that's an important part of the game. If you're in a situation where there's 5 or 6 DDs, you better hope you have backup, because you're not going to have a lucky torpedo strike or 2 or 3 to turn the tide. That's not going to happen. You're just going to lose. And you're going to lose hard. It's got one of the least amount of health pool in the game. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because part of it is very American and the other part is very Japanese. These are basically what the Japanese torpedoes should be. They should be the best in class in the game. And they should also do damage to everything. But Wargaming has decided that that just can't happen. So the next best thing is they're probably going to give the Japanese the option to copy the Pan-Asian torpedo systems. Now, they won't have access to radar or the better smoke or the American guns, but they will have torpedoes that are actually usable and will kill a lot of battleships. Whereas right now, their torpedoes are seen from space. So, with that knowledge in mind, I need to get better knowing how to use deep water torpedoes. I would say most of the time, I'm not actively looking to dump my torpedoes on a battleship or a cruiser. If I'm in my Germans, my Americans, my Japanese, I'm looking to wipe out anyone or move them off of an objective early on. And I like to keep up the pressure on those DDs until they're dead, or I know where they're going. Or a friendly can take them out. Or a friendly did take them out. But you can't do that with these ships you have to know, and you absolutely will know, your output against DDs, and it's going to be low. But you can outplay them with your skill, your angling, your range. You can also rely on your teammates to help you out a little bit. So, yeah, I'm going to play a lot of deep water torpedoes. If for no other reason, and probably focus on a torpedo system, if for no other reason than eventually the Japanese are going to get the same system, and eventually that's going to make the Japanese more relevant. I don't know how they're going to compensate the Japanese, though. I feel like the Japanese have really bad guns. So giving them deep water torpedoes with really bad guns, yeah, that's going to be really dangerous. But it'll be fun. And that's the most important thing, right? These guys are giving us something new. Something different. Something blue, you know. And I like that. I think it makes me a better player if I play something completely different. It slightly changes the way I approach the game. Maybe I can incorporate that play style into other ship lines. You know, before I really played a lot of the German DDs, it was a gun. Oh, it has to be a gun. It could only be a gun. But the more you play, it's like, oh yeah, torpedoes are actually pretty damn good. They got a really fast rearm, and they're really easy to use. Okay. Oh, AP on the broadside. Yeah. AP broadside for the Germans is so rewarding that you want to use it, but sometimes, specific scenarios, you can't use AP at all, and you shouldn't, or certain targets. And the more you play with these slightly different strategies, it's going to make all my other DDs play better. So I'm looking forward to that. Chung Mu, 102,000 damage. Pretty good objective control. I need to be better at setting my torpedoes. 4 kills, 2,083 base XP. I enjoyed it. Guns are good. Torpedoes are good. You just have to use them in the correct scenario. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll catch you next time.